The stakes were high that night. They were so high, it was just, you could have cut it with a knife. In the middle of the night, this leader of the Jews, he was a part of the Sanhedrin, the council, the ones that had the most power and authority in the land, in the religion, thought to himself, I better go. Something has told me I best go. So he left. He went into the middle of the darkness. Remember, there were no streetlights. There might have been a star in the sky if it was actually clear. So somehow he would have had to go and find this guy, this teacher, for there were tons of people in town. It was a festival. And all of a sudden, this leader, this Nicodemus, he had to find a poor peasant rabbi who was causing a big stir, as we all know, who was getting everybody all excited. But he couldn't have anybody know that that's where he was going. Maybe he put on a costume or something to cover up his otherwise very wealthy silk-covered clothes with just a little candle, maybe. And he had to figure out how to get there. There were no road signs. There wasn't a star over his manger this night. So he went. The risk that he took is unimaginable. That which he decided to do could have cost him everything and could have cost the entire Jewish people everything. Oh my gosh. One of the leaders of the Jews, the political power of the day, decided to go visit someone he wasn't supposed to visit. No, he could have threatened his entire existence, but he went. There was something so intriguing, something so going back and forth in him that he was like, I have to risk something. Was it calculated? Was it something that he could say, okay, these little boxes were checked and I think I can trust this risk? I don't know if you can ever trust risk. That doesn't feel right, does it? A calculated risk he took nonetheless, thinking, okay, if I do this, my power won't be put into jeopardy, my social standing won't be put in jeopardy, and my faith, this thing I have in God just may be strengthened. So let me try, he said. Let me go. Is it right? For he saw signs, and he heard about signs. For in those days, the Jewish people said, God is seen through signs. You may ring a bell in 1 Corinthians when Paul said, the Jews require signs and the Greeks require wisdom. Right? That's the world they lived in. They needed to see. Guess what? I need to see, right? It's kind of nice to see that God is here. And the Sanhedrin, those folks, they knew that God came in amazing ways. They knew that God shows himself in ways and that we can see even though we cannot see the face of God. And the Gospel of John says there were 7 signs. That's it. 7. Kind of perfect, they say, that number. One was when Jesus turned water into wine. Then he cleansed the temple. Then he healed a royal leader's son. Then he walked on some water and he fed 5,000 people. He healed the man sitting for 37 years by the holy water. He gave the blind man sight, and he raised Lazarus from the dead. Those are the signs that Nicodemus either knew or knew were to come. They're amazing. Signs. He needed to see if God is real. He needed to see if Jesus was the one that is to come and share those signs. Was his risk worth it? Boy, we haven't even walked in the door yet, Roger. What are we going to do now? Oh my gosh. So he does. So Jesus walks into that door, not knowing if it was even safe to do so. And the conversation just flows. Now, sometimes when I hear this story of Jesus and Nicodemus, I get all like, oh, Jesus, don't be so mean. Sometimes it feels like he's kind of pounding some things over the head of Nicodemus, but guess what? He wasn't. He was inviting Nicodemus in. In our day, we might say Jesus was offering a lot of entrance ramps into Jesus, into this faith, into this seeing of the signs of God. There was wind that comes and it goes. There's being born from above and being born on earth. They are all ways that are tangible and intangible invitations. They're all signs that God is here. A simple hello is all that Jesus had to give. But as a leader, Nicodemus needed, like all of us do, something a little more personal. And he goes there. He goes and tells Nicodemus of Nicodemus's story. He takes him to Moses. He takes them to the wilderness of Sinai. He takes them into the depth of his faith. And he says, Nicodemus, here it all is. Here we are. So he slips away in the night. After a conversation that they had, and we don't even hear the door close, in fact, as the story moves on. And Jesus turns around and whispers as the door is gently closing, Nicodemus, Nicodemus, how can these things be? Amen.